Welcome to 734 Games, and this is your host, Tom. And today I'm going to talk about some social issues. I don't normally do that on my channel, but what I'm going to talk about is Candace Owens and what she said about George Floyd. Now, I'm not a liberal, and I don't believe in defunding the police. I think that the boys in blue need funding, and I think that they most of the cops do a good job. It's the few bad ones that you are always hearing about, and that's what always seems to hit the media. You know, if it bleeds, it leads. Now, I want to start by saying, generally, liberals look at civil rights. When liberals talk about things that happen, things that happen to people, social issues, they always talk about civil rights. Conservatives talk about human rights, and that's always been a big deal. And especially in with the Democratic and Republican parties, that's definitely something you see a lot of. In that's definitely part of the left and right paradigm, at least. Now, being a black conservative, I do not believe in reparations. I don't want anyone to bail me out. I don't need white people to give me their money. I want to do it for myself, but I want to do things for myself. That's it. That's really it. But what happened to George Floyd, let me tell you why what happened to George Floyd was wrong on every level, and you should be angry if you are a liberal or a conservative. Now, Candace Owens says that we shouldn't be having funerals for George Floyd, and that George Floyd should not be a martyr for the black community, because George Floyd he wasn't a good person when he was alive, or at least not fully a good person. I'm sure that he maybe had some good things about him. I don't know. I didn't know the guy. I know that he was into some criminal activity, but she says that George Floyd should not be a martyr. Now, George Floyd, from my perspective, George Floyd is not a martyr because of his life. He's a martyr because of the way he died. And the way he died without due process. He never got his day in court, and he was executed on the street. That's what happened. And as a matter of fact, when I was in the Marine Corps, if I did something like that to a North Korean, I would be up on war crimes. I'd be on charges for war crimes. What they did to George Floyd, that's why what they did to George Floyd was wrong. The government not only violated George Floyd's civil rights, they violated his human rights as well. The cops they're not supposed to execute people in the street. This is not China. And anybody who thinks that it's okay, and anyone who says they're a conservative and says that that's okay, or just says, well, doesn't look at that and isn't appalled by it, is probably not really a conservative. Now, I don't want to call Candace Owens a pariah, but I would say that, what happened to George Floyd is something that would happen in a pariah state. And as a conservative, I really believe in a government with less power. And any government that can execute someone on the street does not have less power. They have more power. So you're not really a conservative if you're saying that that's okay what happened to George Floyd. It doesn't matter that he was a criminal. What matters is that his human rights were violated. And furthermore, I think that anyone who's a conservative should be appalled at what Candace Owens has inferred and what she said about George Floyd. Now, I know George Floyd was not a great guy, but he didn't deserve to die like that. That's not how things were supposed to work in the United States. We don't live in communist China. And if you think that that's how things should be, maybe you should go live in communist China. Now, I despise cancel culture, but it's like, I'm not saying that we should cancel Candace Owens, but, Dennis Prager is a Jew, and the Jews went through a really hard time called the Holocaust, where their human rights were violated. And I think if I were Dennis Prager, I would seriously consider not having Candace Owens on PragerU. I like PragerU. They do really good videos. You should check out PragerU if you haven't. But I would say, don't look at Candace Owens' videos. When you say something like that, you have to respect human rights for everyone. And if you give government the kind of power to just snuff people out, even though, well, that person was a criminal or they have a criminal record, so it's okay to snuff them out, then you are not a conservative, and I do not think you deserve a platform to speak like that, like PragerU, especially not PragerU. PragerU has some very good informative videos, and I think having her on there soils PragerU. Now, that's pretty much it for this episode of 734 Games. This is your host, Tom, signing off from 734 Games, where gaming is alive.